I just realized I was on the screen. There's supposed to be other thing the other picture because I was supposed to be getting things ready, and they weren't quite ready yet. So I trust you can all hear me now. That's very funny. Um, so anyway, hello everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Tea with G, aka satsang. Oh, I used to be really good at technology. Now it's like the bane of my existence. Um, Always forgetting something. Good thing I didn't make any nasty comments or do something really weird. I was just kind of checking everything out and moving me around. So I trust you all have your beverage of choice with you and are ready for our time together. Um, so I realized I was on the screen. I wasn't able to pull up the thing that I wanted to pull up, but I got a request and a question that came in, and it's very short. It was only one sentence long. I'm going to see if I can find it really quick and see if it's there. Nope, that's not it. It's on the other channel, but I do want to make sure I read it because I want to understand. I really want to answer it. Yes, there it is, from Molly. She asked, when will I fully wake and remember who I am? I am absolutely sure that is a question that has occurred to absolutely everyone here, including myself. And wouldn't it be great if we had this nice little timeline that we could follow and say it's going to happen on a certain date at a certain time? But first thing I like to do is tell you a story. The storyteller comes out. Once there was a great master, a sage, a Buddha, a living Buddha, and he was walking down a path in the forest. Not sure where he was going. I'm not sure it's even important. Well, he came upon one fellow sitting under a tree, meditating very intensely, just really devoted. And as he was looking at the fellow who was meditating sensed the presence of this great master, and opened his eyes and saw him and paid homage and said, great master, can I ask you a question? He said, sure. He said, how many more lifetimes, how long before I am going to become fully awakened? The master responded, well, my son, you have 3 more lifetimes, and then you will fully awaken. You will be fully brought into divine, into nirvana, the divine kingdom. And the man just, all the energy, all the color in his face, just face. Oh my God, really? 3 more lifetimes? Oh no. I can barely get through this one. Oh, thank you, master. Sat down, quite forlorn. Sat back down, back into his meditation. Just the wind out of his sails. Well, the master walked along a little bit further, came upon another fellow sitting under a tree, also meditating with great sincerity. And he also sensed the presence of this living Buddha that was walking past. And he too asked if he could ask a question. The master, of course, said, yes, ask away, my son. He said, how many more lifetimes do I have before I fully awaken? Or maybe it's even this one. And the master said, do you see that tree over there? He said, yeah. He said, you have as many lives left as there are leaves on that tree. And the man looked. He said, really? That's it? That's all? a finite number? Shall I go count them? This is incredible. This is wonderful. And he was absolutely elated that he had gotten his answer. And suddenly the heavens parted. This flaming chariot came out of the sky and said, "Come, son, you are coming into your nirvana." He said, "But wait, I thought I had all these lives." He said, "Those are no longer necessary for you." Off he went. Thich Nhat Hanh said very beautifully, something for us all to ponder. He said, "There are no enlightened beings. There are only enlightened moments." We all want to turn the enlightenment, the great awakening, the final, the final, right? The definitive aha, and put it off into the future. At some point in the future, I am going to awaken. When that moment comes, will it be any moment other than now? Right this moment. You see, if we project some kind of special state, some kind of special condition, some kind of special level of consciousness to this whole idea of awakening and enlightenment, then we've turned it into an object. We've turned it into something. We've put it on the timeline. And it has become another thing we pursue, just like prior to coming into non-dual teaching or spirituality in this life or some other. We were chasing after material things. We were chasing after relationships or wealth or success or any of the number of things that are the normal, not healthy, but normal objectives of most people in the world, and have been the objectives really of every culture. So there's really no difference, except it's now become this spiritual ideal, right? Well, what is awakening? If I awaken from a dream, right, am I any different than before I went into the dream? And does the guy in the dream actually wake up? Does the guy in the dream ask, how long before I wake up? Because the guy in the dream doesn't wake up. Now, at the heart of that is a sense of our own suffering, our own discomfort, our own discontent. That's why we ask that. You could even say that the question, I don't know specifically if this is your experience, Molly, but that there is behind it this sense that somehow there's a time in the future when I'm going to feel free and happy, content, safe, whole. But what about right now? You know, if the Enlightenment were an event that took place in time and is not here now, then it's yet another thing that can be gained and lost. Right? So why would we even bother pursuing it? It would be no different than any pursuit we have in the world, which we know are all going to eventually go away. They're going to fade away. I don't care how wonderful it is. You know, it may have the most perfect relationship in the world. You may have billions of dollars at your disposal or net worth. You may have had, you've seen God on a plant journey, but it's gone. It will be gone. There's no way around it. If not just the fickle nature of events, then it will simply be your own demise, that this body will fall away and what we call death, but really isn't. It's just a another transformation. So the first thing to do is to stop referring to enlightenment as some event out there somewhere and recognize if it's the real thing, it must be present right now, and I'm just not seeing it. For some reason, I'm not seeing it. But can you see what a different approach it is to spiritual practice if we see it as something that, it's here, and I need to learn how to see it, rather than it's out there somewhere, and I have to practice and in order to achieve it or attain it. Buddha said that at his enlightenment, he attained nothing. Absolutely nothing. Now, I think it's really interesting to note, and ready, take a sip. I'm sure all of you here are familiar with the great sage, one of the greatest sages of all time, Nisargadatta. All of the stories that we've all heard about the enlightenment experience of people, the Buddha, Ramana, Papaji, Muji, any teacher you can think of, even Eckhart Tolle, their moment, right? It was this definitive moment, and there's this story behind it, leading up to it and the experience, and we all kind of gravitate towards that. When am I going to have my definitive aha? Now, the exception to that, and the very significant exception to that, is Nisargadatta Maharaj. He never told about any kind of definitive moment. He only talked about the experience he had with his own guru when he met him, and that he did what the guru told him to do because he trusted him. He felt his, that energy, and he trusted him. And he said, I simply did what he told me. And I think he only actually met his guru in person once or twice, and his guru died. And he said, and Nisargadatta said, I simply did what he told me to do. Every spare moment I had, I devoted it to the inquiry that his guru had given him to do. Now, he didn't have a whole lot of time. He was he's not a high-class fellow, didn't have a lot of money, lived in basically the slums of Mumbai, which is even called Bombay at that point. He owned some tiny little kiosks where he would make little cigarettes and sell them, called bidis, and he would sell them. And himself chain smoked till the day the body gave out on him. So he was just a regular working fellow. His guru was a working person's guru. He would travel around. He didn't sit somewhere and people would come and be with him. He actually traveled from place to place to meet with the people who could not leave what they were doing. It was for the householders. And Nisargadatta's only comment was, I did what he told me as earnestly as I could, and in a relatively short time, I realized my true nature, my true self. So somewhere else, I think he said it was like 3.5 years. 3.5 years. Just utter dedication to the inquiry. Because he trusted the guru who told him to do that. And he believed him, and he did it. And he said he was right. I puzzled over it. I queried about it. I wrestled with it. The comments he made about it. But there's no story there of any kind of great event, which I find utterly fascinating for one of the greatest sages of all time. So as long as we're looking for the definitive event, right, it's really this great food for the mind to be able to continue the search, to be the seeker. Until you get to that, it's going to happen. That's the carrot and the donkey. And your mind will keep you on that track, literally for lifetimes, because it's always the underlying assumption, it's not me, it's something else, but I'm going to get there. Enlightenment is the recognition that I have always been that. I've never been anything else. As Ramana put it so aptly, the self is always realized. And if he said the principal block to self-realization is the belief that you're not. In other words, we have a self-image of somebody, a person, with this kind of history, these experiences and this stuff, childhood traumas and all these things. Right? We're living that image, but that image has become rarefied. I mean, it has matured. You become more compassionate, more devoted, more the sattvic character, more patient, more dedicated, more sincere, and I can feel that in everyone here. Right? And so we think we're on a journey to a destination, right? And that can keep going, and there's all sorts of practices in the world that are that part of the progressive path. But this inquiry is the direct path, which means it's true now. That image we hold of ourselves as someone seeking enlightenment, right, is actually hindering you from the experience of it, which is right here and right now. The experience of yourself. Recognizing this, I think, yes, it was Muji, he said, the idea of the seeker must marinate in this truth, that which is aware even of the seeker. Isn't the seeker a movement in mind, an identity like all the others? Who perceives that? What perceives that? This is you're not going to hear this many places. You're not. You're going to hear all sorts of things about various progressive paths, and I've got nothing against them. I've practiced them until I had the grace of the Guru to say, no, you're missing the point. Even the seeker, the most sincere, devoted, committed seeker, like that fellow under the tree, is also an identity, a sense of self, a person. Because either the truth is true now, which means it is known, felt, seen, experienced now, or it's not. The truth cannot be something that comes into existence later. Beliefs, yeah, they come and go. The truth is what is. It can't come and go. So, I wasn't expecting to talk that long about that. So anyway, I think there's some questions here. So, time for a sip of my favorite beverage, which you all know what it is. If not, I'm not going to tell you. So welcome, my dear friends. Welcome. I mean, it's quite auspicious and beautiful and wonderful that we could even hear these words. They're not being spoken many places. That kind of really direct. No, let's go right for the jugular, right to the center of it. Practices are wonderful. They're wonderful meditative practices. mindfulness, compassion, all the yogas, seva, bhakti, karma yoga, raja yoga, they're all wonderful. But all practices end. They know their fruition. They're not thrown away. They experience their fruition in the encounter with that question, like Nisargadatta and his encounter with the Guru. Everything just falls in, oh, that's it. That's the only place I have to put my attention. Noticing where I am acting out who I am not, and believing myself to be what I'm not. You are the self. You always have been, you always will be. It is not some destination you get to. As Christ said, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. If the truth can set you free, it's not a key. It must mean that the truth is you're already free. You just don't know it. Anyway, hello Rosario, who's in Madrid. I wonder where my other Madrid fellow is here. I don't know where he is this time. Oh, Roberto. There's Ava, there's David and Elaine. Hello guys. Hello everyone. Karen. Isa. Mary. Hello Mary. There's David Yeager. There's Ava. I was sitting there talking because I didn't realize I was on the screen. There was supposed to be that other thing that was there in front of me. I don't know what happened. See, just like there, I pressed the wrong button for sure. Jay says, Hari Om Ji and all. Is having no thoughts the goal of self-realization? Nope. Because I get the sense from some people I talk to that that's what they're shooting for, trying to lengthen their meditation. And when there's old reactions that pop up, they think they're doing something wrong. I confirmed with one of them that they were doing everything right, but it wasn't being received. Yeah, it's not going to be received by the person, because this is the false sense of self, the person, the false sense of identity, the sense of a separate self, trying to find a way back to what it never really left. Nisargadatta put it, having never left the house, you're asking for the way home. And so they've got this idea that if somehow they can stop all their thoughts, that will be nirvana. And there are many yogic practices which teach how to do that. I think Raja Yoga is actually one of those. But there are many yogic practices that that's their focus. Different levels of samadhi, which I'm completely free of thought, of emotion, of everything. I'm just completely separate from it. Ramana tells the story of a great yogi who had attained many levels of samadhi, who could go into samadhi for long periods of time, just no thought, no, right, totally. And he was settling down to go into samadhi, but he was thirsty, and he asked his helper, he said, please bring me a glass of water. He gets the water and brings him. But by the time he came back with the water, the great yogi had already settled into samadhi. He was there. And he was there for hours, and days, and weeks, then months, and finally the helper said, oh, come back up. And he left. He was gone. The water had evaporated from the glass. And after a while, I don't know, months, years, who knows, the yogi came out of samadhi. And his first words were, my God, I'm thirsty. Helper, where's my water? Where's my water? I think you get the point. It's a temporary abeyance. The attempt to stop the mind, as Muji put it, trying to stop your mind is like trying to stop the wind dressed as a kite. It's a practice a lot of people do, but I don't need to stop the mind. I don't have to stop the mind to be what I already am. I don't have to. I'm already that. I'm already that which is aware that there is a mind, that that is aware of all the thoughts coming and going. The problem isn't the thoughts coming and going, or the emotions, or the sensations. That's life. That's what we're experiencing. You wouldn't be experiencing this right now if it wasn't for that characteristic of which is actually a characteristic of the self. But we get identified with that. Either we're identified with what the thoughts are saying, or we're identified with another thought that says, I've got to get rid of thoughts. Who's that I that thinks it needs to get rid of other thoughts? Isn't that yet another thought? Isn't the whole process you're going through the thought, I have to get rid of thoughts? Isn't that itself a thought? What sees that? What is aware of that? But you can see how it's like there's levels to it, where there's the thoughts, I need to get rid of them. Then there's a much subtler thought that appears, like, I've got to get rid of them. I'm going to do all this practice. I need to be free of these. Not recognizing that that too is just another form, another shape the sense of identity is taken. This one seems to be better. It seems to be much more spiritual and advanced and the like. But but it's same old, same old. It's just taken a different form. Instead of indulging it, I'm not the sinner anymore. I'm the virtuous person. I'm the spiritual guy, right? And I'm always going to be kind, and I'm always going to be... You can see, all identities are a creation of the mind. All of them. Right? The sense of identity appears. It is the most fundamental thing. The first time it appeared in our lives, it was, I am the body. In fact, it created the body. Prior to that, there's no body, just experience. And there was a body in the world, and our relationship, and that sense of identity connected to the I am the body, the I am this or that thought, which is totally silent. The I thought is what Ramana calls it, is the subtleness that only this kind of inquiry can catch. Right? Because if I can see that, that can't be me either. If I can see this invisible energy influence just taking a new shape and grabbing thoughts and pulling it into that shape, now I'm the one who has to go beyond that. If I can see that, well, that can't be me either, then it too is a movement, and it came, and it's going to have to go. Because there was some time they were just agreeing with their thoughts. Then I'm going to meditate now because I have to get rid of the thoughts. But where did that start? Was that always there? Well, if it had a beginning, then it can't be the truth. Because the truth can't have a beginning. You can't start being the truth. I was false yesterday, but today I'm true. Yeah, 2 + 2 was 3 yesterday, but today it's 4. Yay, we've made it to 4. Maybe in 18 kalpas, 2 + 2 will equal 5. That'd be great. We're gonna just keep working up the scale. So yeah. So you say, yeah, you know what? Maybe that's not really necessary. Right? If it's not received, it's not received. It's like, bless you. Have a beautiful life. And of course, there's a feeling that's going to come up. Must be doing something. Well, of course, you can see it's the whole thing. It's if stopping thoughts, which is impossible, is the goal, then you're going to think you failed at it. You're going to think that I should be able to do this, but you can't. You can't stop the wind. You can't do it. You can't stop life. All you can do is say, I am the witness to life. it is from me that all life has emerged. I am that, and I am the essence of it. Wonderful. Thanks, G. Good luck. Or thanks, J. J. Good luck. Yeah. Yeah. It's not going to be. It's not going to be received. Yeah. It's like bless their hearts. You just love them. Love them. Love them. Yeah. Just have, because at some point that we have no control over, grace is going to pierce through that veil. And suddenly one of them go, wait a minute. I've really done a sincere, dedicated effort to this, and it's going absolutely nowhere. Is it really my fault? Or maybe there's something wrong with this picture. I've been trying to improve myself for a very long time. I followed all the directions. I've done everything right, and I'm not enlightened yet. Is it really me? Or is this? Or am I on the wrong path here? Only grace can bring that about. Only grace can pierce a delusion. I know, because I've had delusions pierced and go, oh my God. By the grace of God, I finally see. Thank you. Thank you for not fulfilling the prayers of my delusion. I just be yet a tree full of more lives. Ah, Kara, so good to see you. Hi, Jean. Does the I that disappears when you're present, have anything real about it? Or is it all just made up of a collection of thoughts, beliefs? The world that false I creates seems very real. I think you know the answer to that. If it disappears when you have the experience of being present, it obviously isn't real, is it? If it was real, it couldn't disappear. So when you're present, right, what does that actually mean? We see that as my attention has stabilized here for the moment. I see that sense of I has disappeared, and now I feel present, and there's a feeling about presence, right? But you say when you're present. So whoever it is that is becoming present, experiencing presence, and then not being present, well, that comes and goes too, doesn't it? Yet something's here that notices the I that disappears. It also notices the sense of presence coming and going, doesn't it? Is that coming and going? Okay. Or is that the true I, the true me? Because clearly it's you who notices that. Okay. But we've got this idea now that somehow I'm supposed to be always present, whatever that happens to mean to you. And that means I feel content, I feel open, I feel spacious, I feel one with the universe, or just I feel better, I feel okay. Who's that I? We don't ask. We assume that the objective is some state that's going to be unchanging, permanent. There's no such thing. The only thing that's permanent and unchanging is that which recognizes the states that aren't, which is you. And it's right there. It's right there. Can you just admit to the obvious, you are the self. You are what you're seeking. You always have been. You haven't left the house. You don't need directions on how to get back. You are already there. There's just these persistent thoughts that we have to get the handle on that say you're not. That's it. That's the whole of the practice. you can't even call it a practice. It's just a looking. You're just looking at what's actually is. Oh, it's just another sense of identity I got consumed in, and so I started acting that out. I've got to try to be present. Oh, something sees that. Something even subtler sees that. What's that? And something else may pop. Something else may pop. But what you get to is self-realization. That the one who's seeing this is the self you're seeking. And even the seeker of the self is seen. It's noticed is, oh, right, because that's appearing on the screen as well. Who's looking at the screen that is never on the screen? The screen comes from it. It's never on it. And so what happens is, because yes, the false sense of I is nothing but a bunch of thoughts. That's all it is. And I guess you could say it's a thought, but there's an impulse, a silent thought, the I thought, that feels the need to make an identity, a shape, a form, be somebody. That's the essence of it, the vasana. I need to be somebody. Without that, there are no more lives. The leaves are all off the tree. And so, yeah, that's all it is. It's a collection of thoughts and beliefs, believed to be a person, an entity trying to find God, trying to find reality. Right? And these beliefs they don't appear just as thoughts in our head. The thoughts in our head are actually kind of expressive of these things that are much more subtle, much more essential, and really come from this place that is the sense of a person that needs a shape to have expression. And it takes the shape and then becomes that shape. It is the I am in form. The I am itself, the sense I am, prior to that, is absolutely pure. Absolutely just I am. But it is inevitable that this person show up. It's actually part of the program. You can't help it. That person arises. It's part of the I am, and the whole process is bringing that all back home. So to the pure I am, there is no world. There's just the expression of the self. The world, look, you have your view of the world. I have personal view of the world. Everybody here has a personal view. It's a world. So the world then, quote unquote, is subjective. It's whatever you think it is. And that's what you experience, because that's the power of belief. I believe the world is a horrible place. I experience it as a horrible place. All the information about how horrible it is going to get in. Anything that contradicts that is just going to be thrown away, because that's the power of belief. That's the power of it. Right? The reality of what we are experiencing, right, has nothing to do with our subjective concepts of it. The world, as it is the self. It is the body of God. And there's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. We're not experiencing that. We're experiencing a projection, a subjective notion of what the world is, based on the identity we have as a person. I think I'm this, therefore the world is that. That's the way it works. And we think, well, this is the world, and it's very real. The reality of the world is not that, right? And yet the world is there as the manifestation, the expression of the self, and is not separate from the self. It says in the Ribu Gita, no, it's the Upanishads, right? All this is myself. This is Brahma referring to the universe, for it is all poured forth from me. It is all myself. The world, the universe, is God looking at herself in the mirror. It's my body. This is my body. But the body is not something I am in. The body is something that's in me, the embodiment of myself. And no embodiment can capture me, but it can contain me. And even the embodiment itself just forever changing constellation, this forever transforming thing that never ever sits still. It's a wave, it's a flow, it's not a thing. There are no things. Does this answer for you, Carl? Yeah. Hello, Hendrik. Where is Lake Constance? That it sounds like it would be something in Bavaria, down south of Germany. Most gorgeous places I've ever seen. Anyway, Kuhlika, namaste to you. Good to have you here. Think space. I feel not like my true self. Would that be an opportunity to be more conscious and self-improve? Or is it a sign of lack of self-acceptance? I am not proud. It's in the present, in the future. Security. It's in the present, is in the future. Okay. Look at it this way. Pink space, great name. If you don't feel like your true self, right, how do you know? How do you know? There must be something in you, quiet, silent, unintrusive, very polite, just like grace, that knows what my true self is. It says, well, this doesn't feel like it. Or else it's an idea of what the true self should feel like. Right? Now, what if how you are feeling right this second is in fact exactly how the true self feels? This is a feeling, right, that you're having. I feel not like my true self, but insecurity, not proud, insecurity, present, future, lack of self-acceptance. Now just stand back for a second. Everybody stand back. These are all experiences we all have, right? And say, oh, what can I do to improve myself so I have self-acceptance, so I don't feel insecure? And then we set about trying to create a different version of ourselves, one that has self-acceptance and is improving themselves. And look, there's nothing wrong with any of that. Any attempts we have to improve our lives, improve our relationships, improve ourselves. I mean, who can argue with that? I wish we could put all the leaders and politicians in the world on a self-improvement program. They need it desperately. Give them more compassion and empathy for others. But you've come to satsang. You've come to a place that says it's not about self-improvement. It's about self-realization. So notice that the feeling that you have, that you've identified as it's not my true self, is a feeling, isn't it? And it comes and goes. The question, is this an opportunity to be more conscious and self-improve? Is it a sign that I don't have self-acceptance? Now, those are thoughts and feelings that are there, right, that come and go. Right? And I'm not proud. It's a great virtue. Right? Not be proud. Insecurity in the present, in the future. Right? And the way the mind projects things into the future that makes us feel insecure. Right? Let's look at it nice and closely. Right? And that comes and goes, doesn't it? You don't feel that way all the time. Right? At least when you're asleep and dreaming, you don't feel it, or in deep sleep, you don't feel it. At times you just, it doesn't. It comes and goes. What's not coming and going? What is it that cognizes that feeling, that sees the thought? Right? Oh, this is an opportunity. Right? Right? It gets involved with that thought. What sees that thought? What's aware of it? what's aware of it coming, there's this thought, sees it while it's playing itself out, maybe even identifies with it, and then it's gone, and sees that it's gone. What's that? Right? Who's hearing my words right now? Folks, there's only one true self. There's only one consciousness. Awareness doesn't have a boundary. You can have an awareness over here and another awareness over here. There's only one. So the only thing that can cognize anything, the only thing that actually can hear, smell, taste, feel, see, the only thing that has any cognizance or sentience is awareness. Right? Unawareness doesn't, can't, right? Unconsciousness doesn't. Only consciousness is conscious, which means you must be that because you're the one that sees it, which means you are the true self. The true self is witnessing all of these feelings coming and going. It's also witnessing the sense of identity arising and saying, do I self-improve? Do I not? Can you see? It's much more subtle, but it too is a movement. It's also the I thought. Do I need more self-acceptance? Well, stop for a second. It wasn't there when you were little. Little kids don't go, do I need more self-acceptance? Right? That comes way later, right? What is it that sees even that? Right? Does that need self-acceptance? No, it's something that appears to it. The point I keep trying to make is that you're already, if you look and you see, you'll find you are already that true self, the one who is doing all the cognizing, because the false self is just a thought. Thoughts don't think. Thoughts can't see themselves. Thoughts aren't sentient, right? The thought of me is not conscious of me. It's just a thought. So the consciousness that's actually perceiving that thought and perceiving the energy that identifies with that thought must really be me. And that must be the self, because it's the only cognizance there is. There is no other consciousness. There's only one, which means it's you. For some reason, it's like there's this dark force in us that refuses to acknowledge the obvious. And what practice, you might say, for lack of a better word, is necessary, is dismantling that energy. It's called Maya. It's called Mara. It's this momentum there appears to be behind this insistence on making a person, an identity that's on their way to the truth, right? But not quite there yet. At least it's on the way to the truth for you guys here. There's a lot of places where it's not even considered, right? I know I'm on my way to my next billion, or I'm on my way to a better relationship, or I'm on my way to a career I really love. None of which is in and of itself is a problem or bad. But that's not the path you're on, because if it was, you wouldn't be here. Right? You don't need to improve. It's just a thought that says, I need to improve. And if you can see, it's very subtle. But there's the thought I there that has to be there first before, that has a version of itself that needs to improve. We believe that, and so now self-improvement and becoming more self-accepting, right, becomes the thing. Right? Now, mind you, if I was, doing a tapping thing, if I was working at the level of emotional healing, which I do, right, and I will continue to until I train enough people so I don't do it anymore. I could just do this. Hopefully I got enough years left to be able to. And for many, that's absolutely necessary. We have to go through this process. But if you're here and you're listening to me and you keep coming back, it means something in you, you are ready to hear what in fact is the ultimate message, the quintessential teaching, the teaching that doesn't need stages. It's direct. Right? Who are you? Well, you are the cognizance. You are the sentience. You are what is hearing my words. Your ears aren't hearing it. The microphone I've got here is not hearing me. Right? There's no consciousness there. You're hearing me. You're the consciousness. You're the sentience. So, I'll leave it at that. Yeah. Wow. Wow. I even heard Muji say, I was just thinking, wow, I could get this across. I don't think I'd ever heard him say, he was just looking up, wow. Right? But this is what he was saying. I said, yes, Master. Yeah. I will take the seeker idea and I will marinate in it until the seeker disappears. Just doing what my guru told me to do. Guess what? He was right. When you name those gurus, Carl asked, has me wondering why there's so few female ones. Just tradition and culture. That's really all it is. That's all it was. There were always in traditional or Aboriginal cultures, there was always the female wise one or medicine woman as well as the medicine man or the shaman or the like. It's just the hierarchy that got created, out of the more sophistication of culture and the emergence of all sorts of technologies, like being able to save food instead of having to wander around, and the very more complex cultures and societies that grew out of it became predominantly driven by the masculine, that were just the patriarchal system, which is pretty much everywhere, with few exceptions. Like the Native Americans are not patriarchal. In fact, they're matriarchal. There's a lot of elements that are of the feminine. So that's the only reason. You're seeing more of them. I should have mentioned Gangaji, who was also a student of Papaji, who's amazing. So, yeah, I mean, that's the only reason. There's absolutely no other reason, right? Monasteries, ashrams, they were all male, right? The monasteries are a male, it's a monastic tradition, but it's all male. And some traditions of Buddhism, the monks can't even touch a woman, not even touch, let alone go on a date or get married. That's not the same, and a lot of them have become much more open to that sort of thing. There's a lot of women roshis in the Zen tradition now. There weren't before. It's happening. It's happening. Happy to say. Love to all of you. Love to you too, Isabel. Tabby. What should I do when victim self repeatedly evoke and perpetuate the same narrative, roles, and images? Well, there's no easy way out of it. Oh, he continued, I have a self-defeating attitude towards renters, justifying the landlord's bad behavior. I know this is untrue, but it keeps resurfacing. All right. Just throw that whole thing out, because that's a specific that your mind is grabbed onto. Whereas the general, the one that's going to actually bring relief to your suffering, is what you asked, what should I do when this sense of myself and all the thoughts that go with it repeatedly gets evoked, and I see the same narratives, roles, and images. This is the nature of it. The mind is quite repetitive, boringly so, right? It is a soap opera. same theme over and over again, never changing for decades. For decades. I think there's one soap opera that's been on, if you include the radio, that's older than I am. It's Days of Our Lives or something. It's something that was on radio and then on TV, and it's like still going. Right? It's just this repetitive nonsense. Right? But but as long as you keep getting pulled into it in one way or another, one way is at one time you were completely identified with that victim self and trying to find things for the victim self and then some awakening took place, and you now see it as as an energy that's repeatedly being evoked. But now you're the guy who thinks they have to get rid of it. Right? How do I get rid of all these thoughts? Well, you're like the friends of Jay's who think they have to get rid of the thoughts in meditation. You don't have to. Right? You have to keep sinking further back and go, okay, I am aware of all of these thoughts. And I'm increasingly aware of the fact that when they happen, I get pulled into this role of now trying to get rid of those and believing that I'm not going to be happy and free until I do. Now, if I believe that, I believe it into existence, and I will fight with these thoughts and be miserable because I think they have to go away in order for me to be happy. That's the shape I've now taken on. This is the role that I'm playing. That, too, is another thought, another identity, and it's not you. If I can get you to see that, if I can get you to perceive that energy, that shape, that Ramana referred to it as a spirit that was impalpable, that is undetectable by the mind. But if you can detect it, then you're more subtle than even the mind is. And you can detect it because you're more subtle than anything. You can detect space. What's more subtle than space? And you experience space. You can recognize space. Well, what in the world can recognize space if it's not more subtle than space? So that energy that takes the shape that says, I am this now, right, is part of the picture. It is a different identity. It's a shape shift. It's taken a different shape because you got tired of the old one of being the victim self. Now you want to get rid of the victim self, and now the same thing was I'm the victim self is now going, let's get rid of it. Let's get rid of it. It's the same little voice in your head. It's just it's just shift. It's the chameleon, right? Yeah. Oh yeah, let's get rid of it. Come on, we're going to get rid of it now. It's the same guy, the same voice. Right? So forget about the landlord and his bad behavior, the renters and their bad behavior. Just forget about it. Forget about it. That isn't important. That's one of the leaves on the tree, and I'm trying to point you to the root that is supporting those leaves. And that is the sense of identity. Yeah. What does that do for you, Tavi? And I am so happy you keep coming back. I am. I know this has been a real struggle for you. Anyway, pink space, self-improvement is only done practicing with awareness and acceptance is only done practicing with awareness and accepting the present. There's no such thing as becoming the best version of myself. Self-improvement is a trap. Distraction from the truth? Yes, in essence. Now, there are times when obviously self-improvement is necessary. We need functioning in the world. We need certain kind of skills. I have to have skills with technology, although it's failing me of late. Nonetheless, I have to have certain skills with technology and the like. But ultimately, you begin to see that that self-improvement never ends, because the self you're trying to improve isn't a real thing that you can make an improvement to. It's a ghost. It's a thought. It's an idea which has no real foundation and therefore is always shifting. So the moment this improvement comes along, it's like, yeah, but what about that improvement, right? Or the latest whiz-bang technique or technology or ideal comes up, right? Oh, I got to be emotionally self-regulated. Well, now I go about doing that. Now I've got to be a vegan, right? I've got to practice mindfulness and compassion. Right? None of those are bad, are they? Right? Right? But none of them can tell you who you are. Right? And so they are not bad or a distraction in and of themselves, because oftentimes we have to do this. It's great to be more mindful. It's great to just kind of slow down and pay attention, chew your food slower, and just notice the momentum that we normally carry. But when you're talking about this, who am I really? Who's a witness of this self that needs constant self-improvement? Now it is a distraction from that. So you can do the self-improvement and then go, well, okay, who's this self I'm trying to improve? Is that me? Does the self need constant improvement? Does the infinite need more infinity? Does God need more godness? Oh, that's the thought of me, which could need some improving. There's a lot of people, a little bit of humility and kindness would do you a world of good, right? Nothing wrong with that. But this, let me think. Who am I that is aware of this self that is constantly wanting to be improved? Oh, it's just another thought. And there's no end to self-improvement. There's no end goal there. Nothing's. You're never going to get. You're never going to get there. Well then, what's aware of that? And does that need improving? Does the awareness of need improving to become more awareness? So the questions, yeah, and now you're deep in the inquiry. And notice, it's not a dismissal. Right? Oh, I can't do that. I can't do that because it's a distraction. Right? It's not that. Right? It's just that's going on. I used to think that was the most important thing. Now I realize there's something else. There's nothing wrong with that. It was great. It was a step I needed to take in my life. And I've taken that step. And now I'm on to what appears to be the ultimate step. I'm stepping in to that beyond which there are no more steps. I'm going back to where I came from. I'm going back to the heart. The I is going home to the Father, as Christ put it. Who you thought you were is being dropped. And the sense I, which in its essence is pure, is simply returning to its source. The mind is coming back home to the heart, which is where it came from in the first place. So, noticing the answers are a little bit shorter today. I don't want to elaborate so much. I don't want more food for the mind. I don't want it to become too complicated, because it's not. It's extremely simple. It's not a concept. It's a direct looking. If I point you and say, "Can you see that is a thought?" Well, that's not a teaching, is it? It's not a practice. It's not a theory. Right? It's just, oh, yes, I see that is a thought. Okay. Are you that thought? Or are you looking at that thought? I'm looking at that thought. Beautiful. Direct seeing. Not a belief. Right? I'm not putting ideas in your head. Yeah, I can see that. I'm not that thought. Well, if you're not that thought, then what are you? That is actually aware of not just that thought, but all of them. Which means any thought about me can't really be the truth of me, but just a thought about what? About another thought. The thought of me. It's a thought about the thought of me, which I also see. Oh, look at that. You actually see it. And what happens is that, well, it seems like a practice, and you could call it a practice, but I'm splitting hairs here just to make it really, really clear. Your looking is just getting more precise, more subtle ways in which we've identified with this false self become apparent. The looking appears to be getting deeper, but eventually you'll see that even the looking getting deeper is seen by something that doesn't need any more depth. As a matter of fact, it's beyond depth and height. It's beyond breadth and width. It has no attributes. And that is the ultimate truth. That's you. That's the real you. That is what is hearing my words right now. Also speaking them. Not this guy sitting in a chair in Seattle. That's just how it appears. So, okay. So I'll take a quiet moment to take a break, actually. A quick little break and maybe refresh my thing here. This time, I am going to take myself off off the screen. I'm going to stop the cam and mute myself. There we are, all back. Oh, I see people are still here. Very good. Oh, 111. 111. We've been here for an hour and 11 minutes. Let me look through the questions here really quick. I want to... all the prayers, yeah. Yes, I am. Oh, here's good. Here's one. Yeah. Wow. So many. Yeah. Please bear in mind that we all have at heart the same thing going on. We all desire the ultimate freedom and a happiness that doesn't go away. Let's just really simple. A sense of my own existence as being not fluctuating, not insecure, right? but trustworthy, solid, and content. This is what we're all seeking. And we've all been misled to seek it in objects and things and situations and relationships and the like, none of which in and of itself is a problem, except that these things always change. So no matter what you acquire, it's going to be lost. It's either going to change, or you're going to change and not want it anymore. Right? So even the one who wants something is not trustworthy. We change all the time. Human beings quite fickle. I love you, baby. I'll never forget you. Well, maybe. What's your name again? I mean, really, it happens. It happens like that. Right? It's not that we're insincere. It's just we're relying on something that isn't stable by nature. It's changing by nature. The whole point of this inquiry is to find that which isn't changing. And you realize that that which is not changing is you and has been the whole time, and there's nothing left for you to find. So, Bank's Fortnight says, "Hi G, I want to follow Nisargadatta's instruction, but I get to abide with the sense I am. But I get distracted all the time by stuff like being aware of awareness, focusing on the I. I think it would be best to stick to the I am. It stays so simple and clear. Any instructions?" Yeah. Yes. Because you said to me, I want to follow his instruction to abide with the sense I am, then I'm going to say, yes, that's the practice for you. Do that. Now, when you do that, what's going to happen? You're going to find your attention wanders. Oh, look, it's all over the place. Right? And that attention will not just wander to trivial stuff, it's going to wander off to all sorts of non-dual teaching. Oh, this is a really great teaching. Have you heard this new teaching? It's really wonderful. Look at how precise it is. Look at, oh, gee, this is amazing. And before you know it, you're off again to the races. And it seems very legitimate, and under certain circumstances would be. Right? Nothing wrong with any of that in and of itself. But you get to a certain point where, you know what? I don't need any more teaching. I don't need any more concepts. I don't need any more ideas. Even a better way of putting the non-dual thing, even a more brilliant way, I don't need it. I already been told, focus on the sense I am. Now, the sense I am is not a thought. It's not, there's nothing there. From the perspective of our normal orientation, which is the mind, which is always on an object of some sort, the mind will always seek an object, say, this is it, and because it can hold that image. It'll take pictures of it, write books about it, make videos, and the like. This is it. But it's only a concept, it's only an idea, and it will change, it will shift. Even the non-dual stuff, right, can be contradicted. But you can see it's being distracted because from the perspective of our normal way of being, the way we have been educated and trained to be, we are extremely uncomfortable looking to a place and there's nothing there. Your mind goes, there's nothing here, and it's off. You bring it back. There's nothing here, and it's off. And that's what it's going to continue to do. right? If you notice that that's what's happening, right, and that you are the I that sees it getting distracted, then you'll know I'm not getting distracted. I have just been identified with someone who can get distracted. The distraction and the one being distracted are both seen clearly by the awareness that cannot be distracted. You're aware of it all, aren't you? Even finding yourself in the position where you've been completely unconscious and unaware, you've been in the midst of the distraction, you think, oh my God, I forgot, I have to go back. That too is seen. Even the complete forgetting of who you are or what you were doing, it's also seen. It's not a problem. It is not the permanent focus. This is not an exercise in concentration. Right? It's a looking. Right? And I am looking to the place where the sense I am. Right? I am trying to see myself, which of course I can't do. The I cannot see itself. No matter how hard it tries, it can't do it. Right? You cannot see yourself. Even the sense I am is perceived. Subtle as hell, but even the sense I am. But because that which is aware of even the sense I am cannot be perceived at all by anything other than itself, Nisargadatta says, as did Ramana, as did Muj, as do several others say, just put your attention on the sense of being. I am. It's a fact. It's not a thought. I've got a lot of thoughts about it, but my experience is I am. I am. I know that I am. Now, stay with that. Muji of late is doing, he calls the just be exercise. He used to call it commitment to self-realization. Just be. Look it up on YouTube. Muji, just be. And do it. and just do it. It's just nothing but that. The whole practice is like, oh, distracted. Oh, I am here. I am here. But oh, I'm here. The sense I am. Oh, I'm just here. I am. I exist. Just not just be. Right? And every time you get distracted, pull yourself back. Right? The mind will be persistent because its habit, its momentum is to run off to see every little rock in the bush. Huh? Yeah, squirrel. Right? Every single one it'll be doing that. Right? So you have to be more persistent than that. And that's all this is. Your persistence proves your sincerity. But remember that behind it all, the only reason you're doing this is because the love of grace has impelled you to it. You've already earned the right to get this far. Grace has smiled on all of us. To have come in contact with this teaching during this lifetime, you have no idea what that means. The auspiciousness of it. I have lived my life, and during my lifetime, there have been 3 fully awakened beings walking the planet. Nisargadatta, Papaji, and Muji. The first 2, I wasn't ready to recognize. The third one, I got. But can you believe that? In a single lifetime, having that much available. I was around. I was old enough. I could have gone to Bombay and met Nisargadatta. I could have gone to Lucknow and met Papaji. Muji did. I didn't. We're about the same age, actually. Right? So recognize that, we get all trying to, and I'm getting distracted. Just stop for a minute and say, oh my God. The very fact that I'm even engaged in this is the greatest grace. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank How few in the world have had this grace touch them. If you see that suddenly it's like, I don't care how hard it is. I don't care how much I have to persist. I don't care how much energy I have to put in it. It's worth it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is where the path of devotion and bhakti meets the path of jnana, or wisdom. And Lord, purge me of ego, merge me with you. And sometimes it just comes down to that. And you just don't give up. Just don't give up. Even when this is getting absolutely nowhere. Okay, fine. I'm back at it. Right? Because where else you gonna go? It's recorded that at one time Christ had over 300 followers, many. And after a time, they all left him except for the 12. And he even said, well, you guys, you're going to leave too? It was Peter, always impetuous, who said, where are we going to go? You've got the words of truth. Where the hell am I going to go? All roads lead here. Right? Yeah, you can wander off somewhere. I'm only going to have to come back later. Where else are you going to go? If you're here listening to me, it means you've already passed the point of no return. You couldn't go back if you tried. And grace is propelling you forward. And remember, grace is nothing other than the truth of your own being. It is you who you really are, calling the sense of you, calling the I am and the person that emerged from the I am back to itself, which is the real you. And that's the realization, oh, I already am that. And pink space, non-dualism is not a tool. It is not the way to self-acceptance. It's the way to self-realization. And in that self-realization, you find that your true nature is pure love. Of course, fully self-accepting, but also totally accepting of everything else and everyone else. There are no more problems. There's no more stuff to get rid of. So self-acceptance doesn't become a process or a practice that one has to get to. Now, if I was doing energy, if this was a tapping open house or something, I would approach this in a very different way to meet that particular state of mind. But we're not in that. We're in this. We're here at satsang. We're at the end of the journey. We're at the final practice, not an intermediate step, which are all necessary depending on where you are. So, non-dualism is only a word. It represents the simple fact that I can't see myself. So I can't know myself. I can't step outside of myself and look back and know myself like one thing knows another. Like you know me, right? You know what I look like and I sound like and gestures and tone of voice and things like that. But it's from your perspective, right? You can't do that with yourself. You can't step out. So all knowledge of yourself has to come directly from yourself, which means it's not two, it's non-dual. That's all there is to it. So I want to know myself directly as I actually am. That brings self-acceptance, but that's not the reason we do it. This is not a healing modality. It is a modality, it's not even a modality. It's a looking to see who I really am, who I really have always been. And there we go. And that's what it's for. It has a healing effect, of course. Once I know who I am, all the struggles and stuff that went with me believing myself to be somebody other than who I am falls away, of course. Suffering falls away, reduces, and then falls all of the habits, the nasty stuff, the sins, the terrible things, they fall away. Not because I'm seeking them to fall away, but because they're not me. They're not a part of me, and I can clearly see it now. So let's see. Wake not woke. Gee, so handsome with the beard. Oh, thank you. Well, thank you. You use the word dark force describing the energy behind the false self. The intense sense of the reality of it is almost demonic. You think Satan and such derive from that? Yes, that's exactly where they came from. If you actually look at the origin of Satan, it's very funny. Satan is an angel, right? They say he fell from grace and that sort of thing, which is just one of the story. And all the angels are simply aspects of God. God is the trickster God, right? The coyote. It simply is. It's a title. It's not even a name. It's not a being. In the Jewish Bible, it's a title. You're a Satan, right? You're an obstacle. You're an accuser, right? And that's what Satan does. It is the accusing voice. Well, what's the result of that accusing voice? I can either believe it, or I can go, oh, that's the accusing voice. That's the voice of the false self, the voice of the ego, right? But even that came from God. There's no such thing as anything that we experience that doesn't come from the Lord, period. So we use the term dark force because it seems so very powerful, and it's like getting us at every turn. But what's the purpose of it? Is the purpose to mess you up, to trip you up and keep you stuck? No. When you see it, the whole purpose of it is to strengthen your spiritual muscle. I'm not that. And then something will come up, and you see this energy in us that needs to identify. That's the stuff. We have to come to see it. And you can see it as that, yeah, it's like there's this dark force in us. Like that, there's this dark force that's opposing our best intention to wake up to who we really are. That's what it feels like, right? It's not what it is. It's not a force at all. It's a belief. If I believe it to be a dark force, now I'm dealing with the Satan and exorcisms and all sorts of stuff. These entities that are out to get me and stuff like that. But if I just see it as, oh, it is the belief in an intelligence, a consciousness, an awareness, a reality, a beingness other than the one being that is the God, and that God is love. Nothing but love. So, does that answer the question about Satan? Creator of technology that drives me crazy. Mary says I'm glitching. Oh well. Let's see. Mary. I feel of myself, being raised Catholic, it was taught out of me, my connection to Source. Well, yeah, that's its whole point. The whole point of Christianity, not what Jesus taught, but what Christianity became as a result of being a useful tool for the Roman Empire, which is what it became. And all of our modern derivations arose from that. You're taught you're a sinner, and that's why there appears to be this need to find yourself. Yeah, you're completely separate from God, and has a view of God as being separate. It's completely believed that this is the fact, and therefore only through, contrition or special dispensation or the sacrifice, God's bloodlust requiring, his innocent son, to be tortured and murdered, so it could satisfy his rather weird tastes. That became unquestioned. Right? Search for God was what I was taught that I was missing. This is very old. I was often wonder what my life would be like if I had never had that teaching when I was young. Well, I have to put it this way, right? If you never had that teaching when you were young, you might not be sitting here right now hearing this teaching. You might not be. You may have had this wonderful life filled with all sorts of heavenly things and be really great, and for the next 10 lifetimes, you grind along. I can tell you for a fact, I became receptive to this because of all the incredible failures I had over my life. Nothing in my life actually worked to completion. Successes got so far and then collapsed. And if I'd had those, I wouldn't be this, couldn't be doing this. I simply would have clung to it. The delusion would have been perpetuated. And it can be for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. People want to seek the heavenly realms. And according to Buddhism, yeah, I think there's some truth to it. We seek, and we find in another life, we're in this heavenly realm, and we think this is it. Made it, everything. I just think about it, and it comes to me. It's just this perfect thing. I can eat pizza all day and never get fat, right? Just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Could very well be you have that experience, and eventually something's going to go, because everything changes. Something's going to go, yeah, I don't want another pizza. I'm tired. It's going to happen. Mercifully and beautifully, it happened for you in this life. Okay? Yeah. We need oftentimes to walk through hell. We have to. Our clinging to our delusion that we can actually find happiness here has to be squeezed out of us. Like a tube of toothpaste. But when you're inside the tube, you don't want to get out of the tube. But you get out of the tube, when you get squeezed out, oh my God, it's really big out here. It's really nice. Why was I in the tube so long? Yeah. This is, it's your time. It's your time, all of us. Right? We do not say, oh, this shouldn't have happened. No, it had to happen. That's why you're experiencing, this is why you're here. If our lives didn't go the way they did, no matter what those circumstances might be, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be receptive to this teaching. You simply wouldn't be. It had to happen that way. God's grace is not always gentle. God's grace is just God's grace. God will do whatever is necessary to bring you to the truth. Because, dear, you asked for it. When I asked Muji to be my teacher, and he said yes, I was sitting 2 feet in front of him. A lot of hiding and stuff went on right after that. It took me a while to actually settle into it. I did not realize that in that moment I had stuck my head in the lion's mouth and there was no escape. There was no escape. Right? He once said, talking about that the self coming to realize the self. It's like an ice cube that's been put into warm water and it's slowly melting to become one with the water. And then he said, satsang, it's kind of like taking a blowtorch to the ice cube. And he said, well, maybe it's not such a great example. He said, but the reason taking a blowtorch to the ice cube is because the ice cube asked for it. I asked for it. I had no idea the stuff it was going to have to hack away to get me even close to it. But if our desire to know the truth, to know who we really are, to know God, know the truth is sincere, well, buckle your seatbelt, because God will always answer that prayer. Oh, let me skip around here. God, so many things going on here. And do remember, folks, Every answer to the question, to any question, is your answer. Any question that is answered, right, is your answer. It really is. Don't think, oh, they're talking about something else. I'm gonna, go refresh my drink or take a walk or something. Come back. Maybe you'll get to my question. Maybe I'll just leave and I'll get to my question later and I'll watch it on the replay. Truth is not so limited. It's not so confined. In fact, the answer given to one person's question may be, in fact, what you really need to hear and not the answer to yours. Don't make any rules here. So, yeah. Let's see. Roberto, to talk about being alone, left behind, forgotten, not belonging. Kuhulika, when I look within, I come to terms with stillness and peace. When I open my eyes and look at the world, I lose myself in the chaos of the world, and I feel like I live in two different worlds. Tabi says, I constantly ask myself, who's having these thoughts and images? Spiraling into the negative patterns. Is there an immediate routine or technique to help me break free from the emotional turmoil? I'm not enjoying investing in my strategic goals that could truly change my life. Well, self-defeating thoughts. Okay. I'm going to see if I can get one thing that will come to terms with all of us. Being alone, left behind, forgotten, not belonging. Being alone is simply a fact. Right now, I am alone. Well, with you guys, right? But when this is done, I turn this off. I'm alone. There's a bunch of guys downstairs drinking beer, watching a football game. they'll be chatting up a storm. But I'm just sitting here by myself. So aloneness is simply a fact of life. I don't care if you're in the best relationship in the entire world. Most, your beloved has been right from day one. Love at first sight, cue the violins, all the way to the day you die. There'll be times when you're alone, where you're not together. You're alone, just with you, right? So isolate the okay. There's the reality of being alone is just there. Now, there's a reaction to being alone. Right? So I'm inviting all three of you, right? And everybody else, right? All right. There's the facts of life, the stuff that just happens in life. Then there's my thoughts about them, right? Thoughts about the stuff in the world is what you're referring to, Kuhalika, when you say, when I open my eyes and look at the world, I lose myself in the chaos of the world. And I feel like I live in two different worlds. Okay, that's a feeling, isn't it? Have you lost yourself? Where did you go? And who's this you that you lost, that you can't find? Really, I know the three of you are expecting, and everybody else is expecting some kind of, profound or really precise answer, some maybe even complex answer, some great thing I could think about. But all I'm asking you to do is look at the obvious. It's very, very simple. I think it was, Walt Whitman? No. Yeah. No. Yeah, Walt. Yeah, Whitman. He said, truth is simple. If it was complicated, everybody would understand it. Okay, so I come to terms with stillness and peace. All right. Who's that? Who recognizes the stillness and the peace? Right? And then you open your eyes, look around, and suddenly there's the chaos of the world. Who recognizes the chaos of the world? Who recognizes the feeling of living in two different worlds? Right? And the sense of I that says, I live in two different worlds. Isn't that seen? Aren't you looking at that? So you're there. You see the stillness and peace. You open your eyes. It's still you. Looks at the world. Sees the chaos of the world. It's still you. Any change? Except for the belief that somehow I'm not supposed to see the chaos in the world. I do. Therefore, I'm not. Oh, I'm something else. It's not true. Remember, there's one awareness. That which is aware of the stillness is also aware of the chaos. Has that changed? Did it lose itself in the chaos of the world? Is that just another thought coming up? Right? And Tavi, you're asking us, who's having these thoughts and images? And then you find yourself that there's an enormous amount of resistance to it, right? The dark force that we talked about, and Wake Not Woke, I think, yeah, commented about that. You know, the dark. It's not really a dark force; it's our force of habit. What could be more dark than our force of habit? If anybody here has ever tried to deal with an addiction, or even trying to make yourself go to the gym and lose weight or something like that, we know how hard and how persistent habits are. That we have indulged for lifetimes, and somehow we want them to magically go away. They don't do that. They go, no, I'm staying. Make me. Make me go away. No, baby, I'm with you. It's you and me. We're like this. This is the practice, my friend. This is the practice, if you can call it a practice. Now, what I can do to help you try to make it easier for you is go look up Mooji's Just Be exercise and do it, and do it, and do it, and do it. You'll find that eventually you will be able to find the sense of just being, right? And even though you get really pulled away, you'll taste the just being, and you'll find that the peace, the happiness, and everything are there. They're in the beingness itself. Yeah, just do that, right? And don't worry about investing in strategic goals, right? Because there's so much resistance to it. Yeah, there's resistance to it. Okay, fine. Let the resistance be there. Make your strategic goal for your life to wake the fuck up. Make that the number one goal in your life. Don't say don't have goals. Just make that the number one goal. It will organize, it will prioritize, it will fit everything together. All the other goals will find their place within it. And the ones that really don't matter, they're just going to fall away. Make this the most important thing in your life. Now, you won't be able to do that right away, because there's a lot of things that are vying for the most important thing in your life. And in the moment, yesterday I had to be with my granddaughters. That was the most important thing I had to do. I had that responsibility to be there, but it didn't replace this at all. Set your goal for life. What is the point of this life? What is the purpose of my life? This. Period. And if that is, then suddenly you will find a strength and a persistence and a doggedness, right, to keep coming back to that place that is seeing the thoughts and images. Even when you're so confused, your mind is spinning in every direction, you go, okay, who's seeing the mind spinning? You just keep asking. And do that exercise for Mooji. I have one that involves tapping called Just Be, but he's my master. Yeah, go to him. There's an energy about him that helps keep you there. Pink space says, I don't act as I am, and I don't know how to fix that. Stop trying. That's my recommendation. The more you try to fix it, the more energized it becomes. We don't realize we're doing this. You know, the ego loves a good fight. Come on, put him up, right? Feeds on it. That's why Eckhart Tolle referred to it as the pain body, right? It's coming up to feed. What does it feed on? Distress, discontent, conflict, anger. You know? Even, I really got to get beyond this. I don't act as I am. How do I fix? I got to fix this. I got to fix. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's fix this. Come on, girl. We're going to fix. Right? It loves it. Right? Oh, I don't have to fix that. I just have to see it. I see there's an impulse that wants to fix it, but never quite fixes it. What's wrong with this picture? What if I'm not broken? That means there's nothing to fix. Fixing is a dead end. Or I should say, it's a cul-de-sac. It just keeps going around and around. This is the self-help treadmill. Just keeps going. Yeah. So, Karen says, since this is helpful, pink space. I mean, I don't want to leave anybody out. I also don't want to go over people's heads, but I'm really sensing that we can all go here together. That we can, you know, that this isn't beyond you, right? That doesn't mean we may have to drop down a couple of levels, do some emotional processing, childhood trauma stuff, but not forever, not forever. And if you're hearing this, well, it means you're ready to hear this. Really. It's not an accident. Grace doesn't bring you anything you're not ready for. Simple as that. If you weren't ready for it, the words wouldn't be coming to me. And if you've been following me for a while, you noticed how it's changed, becoming more and more and more of this. Even to the point where I separated out the emotional healing work that I do and the training of people for that from this. Two separate channels at this point, although they're combined on the one. You know, that was the old one that was just a potpourri. I just threw whatever was ever on my mind, and like so. Karen says, since listening to you, nothing in my material world has changed, but your words have helped me to heal my soul. Good. Nothing in the world needs to change. But your world will change because your sense of yourself is changing, and your sense of yourself is the subjective experience of the world. And so it will. Don't worry about it. Right? It doesn't need to. It doesn't need to. Matter of fact, I don't want anything in my world to change until it's done its job of squeezing whatever's left of the delusion out of me. Right? Then, yeah, fine. Of course, then it doesn't even matter. Be here, don't be here. Yeah. Just yeah. Glitching again. This is so weird. Has anybody else ever experienced? Mary's had this experience of all of a sudden, the whole thing starts over for her, right from the beginning, like it was never here before. Does anybody else have that experience? Wow, so weird. Jennifer, noticing more of those that are angered by me. My reaction back is to share my smile, stay with myself. Simultaneously, I've noticed a few asking how I do it. Yeah. Now, make sure, Jennifer, that you're not just a really good person who's learned, healed triggers so they're not reactive, so you can smile back at somebody who's angry at you. Make sure you're not. It's very subtle. This guy's clever. And I have to make you know, person. Yeah, the person again. I don't react. And a few are asking me how I do it. I'm just warning you in advance. That's all. Right? because there'll be that it's subtle and it has all the tricks in the book, right? To try to, oh, okay, oh, this is great. So now that sense of a person morphs once again to be, oh yeah, isn't this great? We're doing really good. Oh my God. You know what? A couple more lifetimes, we're going to be there. Yeah. Oh yeah. Keep it up, girl. Just pointing it out in advance. Forewarned is forearmed, right? Oh, there it is. There it is again. Wants to personalize this, right? My reaction back. Right? That my needs to be the pure, original, infinite self. That is the only reality there is. That's the only thing that is seeing it and responding to it. But even the responding is seeing. But that responding is more and more representing the pure, infinite love, right, that is its essence. So it's an expression of that love and not of a person who's loving. Yeah, you get that. Now let's see. Kuhulika was pointing out about Anandamai. Yes, yeah, absolutely. It's another one. If you know, there's a couple of them, right? They're just not as well known, and frankly, there's still a bit of the patriarchal thing going on that we don't pay attention to them. Right? It's infected all of us. Right? I was raised in the 50s, for crying out loud. 50s and 60s. Of course, I went through the whole liberation of women and women's rights and all equal rights and all. It was just really a chaotic time being born in the 50s in my early years, and that was just oh my God. I mean, I actually have very distant, and it didn't last very long. As a kid in Chicago, and going back to Chicago, we've moved out. Um, Black and white washrooms and water fountains. This is my lifetime. Right? So it's like, wow. And the same thing, women had a particular role. Well, it's still there, right? There's a whole movement in the U.S. that really wants to go back to that kind of, that's the way it was supposed to be. Anyway, um, it's petering out, but it's petering out as us, right? As it peters out from each one of us, we each notice that influence. I was identified with that. That's not who I am. The infinite love that does not have gender. Right? The gender is manifested, but the self has no gender. Let's see. Thank you for your answer, G. I'm sure they'll come to that recognition. Yes, with sincere practice, all the prayers. Yeah, thanks, Jay. Yeah. Hendrik says, I can't see the chat questions. Technology. It is the devil. It's the dark force. Purge me of ego, merge me with you. Sergey, holy blessing. Always the mind is deceived being deceived. It's a blessing to hear someone who listens so well and shows empathy to a level I've never encountered face to face. Thank you. And for years, listening to you, I'm grateful for all you've been helping. Oh, yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for listening to yours. That it tells me so much. It really does. Because only somebody who's not only been called but chosen can keep listening for years. Because the ego isn't interested. This, right? And even in the past, I gave the ego more than I do now, because you're ready. You're ready for it. So it's a blessing to have you, Pink Space. Yeah. Bank Fortnite. Can you go directly to knowing yourself beyond experience, even the subtle I am, or does it? Your question has the answer built right into it, right? The subtle I am is the subtlest thing that can be perceived. Beyond that, you cannot perceive. Right? So even Nisargadatta said, focus on the I am. Right? You cannot perceive the self because you are the self. But that realization, I am the self, is not an experience. I started this whole thing out. Enlightenment is not an event that happens. It's not an experience. When you hear the stories of people and their awakening experience, it's a story. It's how awakening appeared within the dream of a person's life. That's not the awakening. It's a manifestation of it. That is not self-realization. Self-realization doesn't have a moment in time. And so we can refer to all these various people, and they had these extraordinary experiences, right? And that was appeared within the dream to be the definitive event. But there's no events in reality. So it's just the way it appeared in the dream. And the dream you're having, it's going to appear in some way. Or Nisargadatta, just this gradual boom happening. It doesn't matter because that's the experience. And now I'm out of the dream, and the dream is still going, right? And I'm just watching the dream, and I'm letting it go without any sense of needing to interfere with it. Right? So you cannot know yourself beyond experience. That is pure non-dual recognition. Cannot do it. Right? Based on what we mean by knowing beyond experience. The knower cannot be known. The perceiver cannot be perceived. Put in the form of a question, can the perceiver be perceived? Right? That's one of the first things I got from Muji. And my God, it can't. No, the perceiver can't be, because everything else can, but the perceiver cannot be perceived. If your perceiver cannot be perceived, then I'm perceiving. I can't be perceived. So I cannot know myself. At least according to our definition of knowledge that stands as one thing knowing another. Sergei, it's better to give than receiving, giving his receiving. Both receiving and giving are witnessed by that which is beyond both. Giving and receiving are both are dualistic, aren't they? You can't have one without the other. Who you are, the truth, is beyond those, which is why it can't be known. It's beyond, has no opposite. Yeah. Can't be known as an object. Like even, how can I know myself, what it's like to know myself beyond experience? Yeah. Stop asking, because you can't. Yeah. Stick with the I am. Stick with the I am, period. No separation, restoration of all things is happening. No restoration is taking place. Right? You see that that's also part of the process. There's no separation, there's no restoration, is there? If there was never any bondage, well, then there's no liberation. This is the the good shit. What can I say? Trust the journey. Amen. Just, yes, wow. Every step along the way is absolutely the step that needs to be taken by the sense of you, because it's all God's grace. Every last bit of it. Nothing wasn't. I love you too, Jennifer. This is true. So many answers have come to me through other questions. Yes. Yeah. Generated wounding. So that was right. Melissa, generational wounding. Sometimes I feel like I'm 9 years old and it feels like shame from the fear. Yeah. That's exactly what you're feeling. You're feeling the feelings of a 9-year-old that got stuck there because it was total fear, terror, and shame because it's my fault, right? You know, in the story of Adam and Eve, after they eat the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, what's the first things they fear? They do. They feel. Sorry, feel. Fear and shame. That comes with the knowledge of duality. Yeah. Of course, so did God, because, well, we got to get them out here before they eat the tree of life. They become as gods. They become like us. It's a great story, actually, when you understand it. Anyway, yes. Free yourself from the idea that you were generationally wounded, and instead see it, conditioning is happening. That is conditioning. And just a trigger I didn't see before. So that when suddenly I could feel like I'm 9 years old. It can be when I'm with my family. It could be with somebody in authority who's kind of, lording it over me. It's a trigger in the nervous system, in conditioning, right? And you're the witness of it. Now, this will bring about an enormous compassion for the conditioning and the nervous system. The example I always use in emotional healing is you treat it like a rescue dog. It's not me. I'm not my conditioning. This is the great insight that can happen even with emotional healing as no knowledge of the non-dual self or anything like that. So that feeling of being 9 years old, triggered by something in the environment, it isn't you. Now you can regard even, inner child, where you can like pick up and hold that little 9-year-old energy, right? Because it's not you. Right? You can put it on your lap, stroke her hair. It's okay, no problem. Yeah, it's okay. I'm here. You're safe. Yeah, I love you. Nothing. Yeah, no shame. Yeah, you're just being a 9-year-old. Love you. And you'll find it dissipate. You'll find that energy very quickly just integrates into the rest of the human experience, goes back into the flow. But you are not that. You're beyond that. Class, oh boy. Class, how can stillness be described? How do you describe silence? Describe space. Can't be done. Oh, so you can stop trying. I don't have to. I don't have to describe stillness. Right? Yet you know it, don't you? Oh, yes. Maybe even just fleeting for a moment. Right? And sometimes we define stillness as being, my mind is stopped for a minute. How can I get back? Stillness is always there. I heard one great concert pianist who said, no, the music isn't in the notes, it's in the space in between. I mean, played music for many years. I agree. Yeah. It's in the silence out of which the music has come. The harmony has emerged. So you can't describe stillness because it's you. And you can't know you. You can't describe you. The description of the one, infinite one, requires infinity and eternity to do so. So it's a forever unfolding collage of one thing after another, but the infinite never changes, and there's nothing you can add to it. Thank you for pointing to Muji. You're very welcome. Yeah. Jennifer, all thoughts are clouds. Be the sky. Be the sky, really. Yeah. And then beyond the sky. Even the sky is seen. Thank you, GP. Jennifer, is she in the waiting room? Thank you, Baba. Yes, I can see it. Oh, good. No, it's not. There's no waiting room for this. Yeah, I can now. Wow. So technology. They're actually all the way downstairs, and I just heard them screaming. I think the Seattle Seahawks, because I'm in Seattle, are. I couldn't tell whether it was a horrible thing or a good thing. Ava, thank you, G. Such a gift to be here. I mean, to be your student and listen to your words of wisdom and love. Thank you, Ava. Thank you, David and Elaine. Wonderful. Thank you. Love you, Jay. Love you too. Savvy Stecker, I just sit, listen, and try to absorb and understand. Some hits home, some goes over my head, yet I know I'm supposed to be here every Sunday. A strong desire to be here, even though I get so confused. Ah, that's sincerity. That is sincerity. Bless your heart, Savvy. Bless your heart. Yeah, that's the real deal. Yeah. Yeah, I just keep showing up. Yeah. Keep showing up, keep showing up. That's the persistence that will win the day. It will break through. All right, my loves. I've run out of my latte anyway, so I means we have to bring it to a close. So, oh, thank you all for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, don't hesitate to reach out. I mean, I do have a group that meets on Zoom once a week. It's a subscription, which is great because I need to pay my bills. We meet on Zoom so we can actually work more together. It's called the Self-Inquiry Sangha. I'll be talking more about it in the weeks to come. And for those of you who would like to join and help support me, that would be wonderful. And I'm also doing another training coming up for the emotional healing for those that are interested in that. So stuff is, doing my best to educate where education is needed, and then remove all the education where it's time for it to be removed. Love you guys. Love you, love you, love you. Till next week.